What's going on, folks? How's it going? This is the Red Dead Redemption 2 podcast, the only and the first, or probably also the best, considering it is the only and the first. I am Iru399. I am one of the hosts on the show. With me, we have Mr. Hazard, and we also have Mr. Red Dead 2 videos. They will say their hellos in turn now, so that they don't all say it at once and we're confused about who they are. So, gentlemen, off you go.
So what is going on, guys? My name is Zach, but you guys can call me Hazardous.
And my name is Dean, and you know me, Irish.
What if they don't know you, though? Who are you?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question. Well, we all do Red Dead Redemption videos, don't we? I wouldn't go so far to say as we're Red Dead Redemption channels, except for the man whose channel name is Red Dead 2 videos. However, we all like Red Dead Redemption, and we're sort of waiting for Red Dead 2 to come out, and we've been doing these for a few weeks now, and I sort of decided we'll put our foot down and we'll make it a podcast, because when it's like 25, 30 minutes, like the last one of these was like 30 minutes long, wasn't it? It was long.
Yeah.
And like that's like a short podcast. Like when you're talking about just Red Dead 2, like news and stuff, that's fine. But I figured if we're gonna do it, you may as well do it right, and that's sort of it. In terms of guests, we don't have plans, do we? We haven't. I mean, I decided we'll call it the podcast before I even like thought any of that nonsense out. But yeah, that's what's going on, really. Yeah, let's go.
All right.
The
So
two amigos.
today, since we decided to frame this episode a little bit differently, since there really isn't any news with Red Dead Redemption to cover like we usually cover the previous weeks in our past podcasts, which, by the way, if you guys want to see those podcasts, at least if you're watching on my channel, I have the links in the description, and I'm sure these guys here as well, Iru399 and Red Dead 2 videos, they have playlists of Red Dead Redemption 2 where you can check out the podcast as well. But this week, we're framing it a little bit differently, and we're talking about 9 things that we want to see in Red Dead Redemption 2, be it either gameplay features or details or just anything that we want to see. And we want to hear what you guys want to see as well. So let us know in the comments, type some things down. Let us know one feature you guys want to see included. Even if it's totally out there, we'd love to, see your guys' comments and read them. Because we just love interacting with you guys. And we kind of want to evolve this series as we go along here. But I guess I'll kind of start off with one of them here. I'll just take the reins on this. The first thing that I'd like to see is barns and stables in the game to be able to store our horses, similar to GTA Online. You can have your garage to store your cars in. And I think that would just be a neat little thing, because we're going to have our camps in the game and in online, but who knows about having barns and stables, and they could be expensive DLC additions to the game, etc. But I just think it would be nice. That way we don't have to just decide on using one horse for the rest of our time, and we build up that relationship that's been confirmed that we have to do with all our horses. Maybe now we can have 6 horses in total or something and build up a relationship with all of them. That way I can use one to go exploring in the mountains. I can use one to go, down to the desert, etc., to the bayou, whatever. So what do you guys think about that?
Did I hear where you can store your cars?
I said it's similar to GTA Online, to where you could store your cars.
Oh, I see. I didn't zone out, but I just heard it'd be cool if we can have barns for our cars. I was, wow.
Nope.
It's a good idea. I don't know though, because in terms of because they want to do the realism thing, don't they, Rockstar? And they want to make you feel like you're immersed and all that. I don't know, maybe I think the gang location, so the camp, probably has the ability to have a stable in it. And by a stable, I just mean an area where the horses are. They probably put a small wooden fence up around the outside, or even just chain them to a post somewhere. I don't know whether or not you'd be able to have more. I feel like the online, you could have that. Single player, not so much, maybe. Depends, because they really are trying to push this kind of one horse, get over it sort of thing. If it dies, you start again. But I feel like even that's only slightly superficial. We'd have to see when it comes out. But if the horse gets good, I suppose, and you it has a name, and whether you can pick the name, we don't know, but it's got a name. If he dies, you start over. You end up with a bad horse again. But I don't feel like you can't I expect you can chop and change which horse you have. It's just that for you to get benefit out of your horse, you want to have him for a while. Hello.
Mr. Dean, do you
Hi.
have any thoughts?
Sorry. Yeah, I just didn't want to put in there in case.
That's
Anyway.
why it's sometimes hard to say. I don't think we'll cut that out because sometimes it takes a lot of effort to do that. But every now and then, like we don't do this like too often. It's quite different to doing like a 5-minute video where we're all sort of talking on our own. So every now and then we'll have slight dead air. We're still here, don't worry. It's just that we're just sort of, it's a skill, isn't it? You practice it and all the rest of it. As we sort of, get to know each other better and all the rest of it, we'll sort of learn each other's talking patterns. Lots of boring stuff that viewers don't normally worry about, but yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Dean.
Yes. What do I got to say about that? I do agree. I mean, I think totally in the single player, obviously we're gonna probably have a horse. Well, one horse, not one horse, but we will have a variety of horses. But as they said, that over time you will get to form a relationship with your horse. But I think it will be different for the online. I think it would be pretty cool if we had that stable, as Hazard mentioned, and like inside the stable we could probably have like different names for the horses and each horse could be like, obviously different. But I'd like the idea of having different horses to choose from within the same stable. I think that'd be pretty cool. Sort of like what Hazard pointed out with the cars in GTA 5 in the garage. Like you could just pick whatever one you want, and I think the same could apply for the horses in the stable. Yeah, I do agree with that.
All right, yeah, I think it would
there's
just be fun.
no reason why you couldn't, I suppose. I think the idea of like where can you keep them would be difficult because, of course, Arthur, they were all on the run, remember? So I feel like it's going to be almost like a massive gypsy wagon type, like caravan type thing, where shit, we gotta go, and then like there's like time spent packing everything up, and then you've got to like get all the stuff brought down. It's like a fancy caravan site where they all set up camp and they've got all their stuff. They've got living quarters. It's, I reckon it'd be quite big. I think that wherever we end up in the online or whatever, it'd be quite a big part of the game, the camp. And
Mhm.
yeah, there's probably going to be a spot where they put the horses. And I expect you can get on the back of someone else's horse. I don't think you're going to be able to ride one horse because that, although there's an emphasis on like, hey, you know, you get to form a bond with your horse. I think the more important thing is other horses won't treat you so well. Like they won't like you as much because they don't know who you are. Maybe they're less obedient and that kind of thing. I think that's the more important takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I just don't know like if you'll be able to build up a relationship with multiple horses at the same time though. You know what I mean? Like if you're limited to
Yeah.
only using one horse and having a good bond with it, or if you can build up a relationship level of like 5 horses. Obviously it takes longer because you're splitting it between 5 horses, but can you eventually form like, the best relationship ever with 5 horses at the same time? Or if you're limited to using one and sticking with it. And then if you want to change, unfortunately, you kind of have to start from square one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. I think I've said it before. Like I think the way Rockstar are going to go with Red Dead Redemption 2 is down a different road. I don't think they're going to make a slower game, but I think they're just going to focus on something different. And that kind of we're just going to try and get you immersed because we've got a good opportunity to do so. Like I can be immersed in GTA, but only to a certain extent. Like the moment I see like a massive pile up on the freeway and like people blowing like stuff up with rockets and then a jet comes in and then someone's orbital striking and people are flying around in pink helicopters like when you see all of that stuff it's a bit difficult to like really get into it, whereas if you wander around Skyrim, very easy to like get into character, if you will, and feel like the world's real and the consequence. And I feel like Red Dead Redemption 2 is it could do that very easily because it just looks so good. Like I feel like it's just going to be Red Dead Redemption on steroids. The graphics are going to be amazing. The music's going to be constant but subtle. So like it's there and you can kind of hear it, like, but it's not intrusive. And you're gonna wander past someone and they're gonna be like, "Howdy, what's going on?" And you're like, "All right,
Mm-hmm.
You're
And then
gonna
you can
get in,
execute them and take their money and then, get 5 stars. No.
yeah. The star system's probably gonna go. I feel like there needs to be no HUD at all. Like, I don't even feel like I want a mini map anymore. Like, I don't. I think the idea of a mini map's quite redundant.
Yeah,
funny
it's
you think
both outdated sort of thing.
For something like Red Dead. Like, if they're
Yeah.
going down that road, like, imagine if you had a map in Skyrim. I keep using Skyrim as an example because I feel like the physics are going to feel a lot like Skyrim in terms of, like, when you're like going to third person in Skyrim.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it's going to feel like.
Gotcha. Oh yeah, so how it's like one fluid thing, like you like zoom into someone's head and you're in first person mode.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I just feel like the camera angle is going to be like that. A mix
Okay.
between Skyrim and God of War. The third person kind of over the shoulder almost, as opposed to in GTA where you're really quite far behind them.
Right.
And your character's in the middle. You're off to the side slightly. You just feel closer. I think that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah, hopefully they do a good job with that. Because, yeah, I didn't even think about that type of thing. Like, what would be the perspective, And that's,
Yeah.
You're right. I think there's a good chance they're going to change it up. So,
Yeah, and I think the reason why, like, it's small stuff like that that makes a big difference to a game. Like, imagine if in GTA you were below Michael's shoulder. You're sort of down on the ground almost, and like you're looking at, like in God of War, it's really pronounced. Like you can see it. The camera's almost on the floor, really close. You're looking up. You're forced to be immersed, if that makes you. You can't be like looking around at everything at the flick of it. You actually have to it just makes it feel like more down to earth. Whereas in GTA, if you want, you can have the camera angle miles away, can't you?
yeah, you could feel really detached if you want. I'm almost getting like the Last of Us vibe. Because, yeah, it's like it's the camera, like the bottom of it, you can't really change distance perspective. And the farthest the camera will go down is right below the hips, I think, right below the waist. So you don't really see the person's legs unless you're looking like from above them and you're walking. So yeah, you get that like attachment sort of feeling and you get immersed like you said. So that's pretty cool. I just hope it makes sense, which I think, it's Rockstar, so it's going to.
So shall we move on to the next gameplay feature?
Yeah. What's something you want to see?
I've got one of myself.
That was
You guys are probably
that was
gonna
gameplay feature number 1.
We talked about other things. Honestly, this is kind of how it's going to turn into this week,
They're
just because of
guidelines.
the lack of
Yeah.
news. We'll just
It's
share a
like-
bunch of things, like whatever you want to see most.
I can't remember if we're putting this up like soon or like later down the line. I don't know when it goes out.
Yeah, mine's
Those.
going. Yeah, I mean, this one's kind of pre-recorded because when you guys are seeing this, I'm back in Jersey over the weekend, so I needed to do this early. But
Yeah. But the more we do this, like at some point, like we'll have to admit that it's the Red Dead 2 podcast, but it's just a convenient name because a big topic in every week or what have you will be. Sorry, I just scratched my mic. Will be Red Dead, but like we'll venture off into like other stuff at some point somewhere down the line. It's just the biggest talking point will be Red Dead 2. With any luck, we'll get a trailer and that'll be fine.
oh yeah, that'll give us a lot for sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
So but like just bear with us while we're finding our feet. It's one of those we've never really ran a podcast before. It's a very different style of like video making. So,
Yeah.
Dean, what do you want to see?
Oh, you guys are gonna laugh at this one, even the viewers. This is a good one.
Go on then.
You guys ready for this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So my idea was actually having a wife within the single player, but also more towards the multiplayer. Now, how awesome does that sound?
I knew
How
Rue was gonna laugh.
awesome It makes sense if
Dean
you
and I
think about it.
spoke about this before, and I want to let you speak, but it's just like I can just picture this woman sitting down by the riverbed with like Arthur Morgan's clothes and the washboard, and you walk by her and she's like, "Oh, like enjoy the porridge," and that's like her only function in the game is like washing clothes.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why I came up with this idea is because of the things that IGN and all of the other sources spoke about, how interaction in Red Dead Redemption 2 will be highly advanced. And I just thought, well, you're somewhere in the world of Red Dead Online, and you stumble across a woman just out on her own business, and maybe she's in danger. You save her life, she owes you one, and you just get with her. I think that'd be cool.
You mean
I
an
just
NPC? I thought you meant this woman's actually going to be Dean.
no,
And it's an extra
no.
character. I get it. That's not actually a bad idea. It makes sense, doesn't it? If you
Yeah,
think of like the realism and the NPC stuff, it does sort of make sense.
yeah, because like you were saying, each character, or they're trying to make the NPCs more like characters instead of just being a random pedestrian in the game. Like I think the NPCs should really have feelings, and that if you approach them in a way, you can sort of make them have feelings towards you.
It's the online thing that got me when you said, and even online, all I could think of was like you're just like hooking up in Red Dead with some like random person that happens to be wearing a female skin. I I don't know why I didn't think of like, oh yeah, NPCs, that makes sense.
Yeah, NPCs, yeah,
But I feel
100%.
it might be more likely. Maybe you can go down the wife route, but I wonder if it's possible to just have lots of babies.
A bunch of kids.
I think
Well, I
that'd be
mean,
way
like
too advanced.
you hook up with women, and they just like later on, just like because I don't know, Arthur's probably a bit of a dog, broad chest, big shoulders and stuff.
He's a
Like
big old boy.
he's a big.
He gets
He is a
drunk. He
big-
enjoys life. He finds a woman. You know, it happens.
Cups of whiskey, and then he just sees someone over there. Like, come on, like there's bound to be something like that there because 1800 is pretty much like the biggest thing that women would do would be that. Like, I know people don't like admitting it, but it is true. Like, out of the gold rush, the biggest profit it is were like the people that were like, you know, doing the old, you know.
Well, yeah, brothels were huge. Like if anyone's seen the show
Huge.
Deadwood, you know, Al Swearingen, he was literally just a pimp, but he was richer than most oil people back then, like people who ran into money with Texas oil stuff because of just his brothel empire he built, and it's crazy to see how there was that much money in that type of thing back then.
Do you know an interesting fact? Well, they've got to spend that money somewhere.
Yeah.
Like an interesting fact with the gold rush was that they'd go into like the saloons or whatever, and then they'd be in the brothels and stuff after gold mining all day long. They'd wash them first, right? So you'd get a wash. You'd go in, you'd have some beer. Sounds good, doesn't it? Have a wash. Someone, gives you a handy and sort of, goes about our way, right? They'd then go through the floor and collect the gold dust that fell off.
Yeah.
And that, like, they'd be getting gold that way. Like, it was such a huge business because everyone would do it. Like, everyone. Because why wouldn't you? You're panning for gold. You just found some money. Apparently, the early people into the gold rush, like, I know Red Dead 2 set quite a bit after, isn't it? I think. I can't remember the exact dates, but it's like a little while later. You know, the earlier people to the gold rush literally made, like, the equivalent of millions just lying on the floor. Like, when you first showed up, it would be there.
Yeah, just like pockets of gold ore, and you're like, well,
The gold
let me
rush
just
would be
chip that off.
boring in 2018, I think, wouldn't it? Someone would send one tweet, lots of gold, everyone would fly there, right? And we'd all collect all the gold and we'd all go home. It'd be like a RuneScape drop pie. Whereas back then, it seemed like for years people were traveling, people would die crossing America, take them months and months just to show up and not find any.
Yeah, and then the whole trip is a waste, and you lose your kids on the way and all this really sad stuff. But hey, that's the risk you take when you go from back east to out west.
Got laid, doesn't matter.
But yeah, that would be cool. Seeing like a wife feature or just interacting with female characters online and having that immersion is definitely a cool thing, Dean, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I mean, it'd be something different.
It is actually pretty logical. I hadn't thought about it. Like when you point it out like that, it does make total sense. For like the NPC stuff, I just didn't really think about it because I didn't. Like I don't know. I think at the back of my head, I'm still thinking like it's a Rockstar Red Dead game. Like because you have to go a long, long way from where GTA's AI is to end up having a wife.
True.
If you think of it like GTA's AI, they're still like plum sacks just running around, like knock someone's coffee out of their hand and they're just like, howdy, and then they just carry on walking as if they never had a cup of coffee. So it's like weird in a way like that, where they got everything right but the AI. So it makes sense that the AI is going to be better.
For sure.
I think they always focused on combat AI because the combat AI is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
like the police and stuff. It's just
In terms of just the actual like digital intelligence of these, like you said, call them plum sacks walking around town. Yeah, it's like they have no depth. It's like you walk in front of their line of sight and they're programmed to say something, and then you bump into them, they say like an aggressive thing, and like that's kind of it. Like that's their use. But yeah, like you can have strippers in your apartment in GTA Online, and so they're almost useless. Like they just like sit on the couch or whatever, and they like I think they take hits out of your bong. I forget, or no, you could do that with them. But if you can just have people in your house or in your barn or tent or camp or whatever in Red Dead Redemption 2
or
that you can
logs, in
actually
fact.
interact, you can actually interact with, that would be a sweet feature. And like play horseshoes with them, or rather than approaching some random fella in the middle of McFarlane's ranch who's like, you think you got a good throw, I challenge you to horseshoes, and then when you lose you execute him and take his money. So
Where do you line up on the map, by the way? Because I think that we're almost going to have the full Red Dead map.
I really want to think so, and like I don't know, like I think we talked about this before, and someone mentioned that if that was a thing, I think you mentioned it, Rue, that if it was confirmed that we were going to be able to have like the old map in the game, they would have been playing on that idea already, and that would be like in their marketing. But with the same token, it could also be a huge surprise.
Well,
And I just don't know.
They can release an awful lot without releasing anything. And they did it for GTA. Like, we didn't know half of the map was there. Like, when we ended up going into GTA, the map, we were just astonished at how big it was. That is the word. The first thing I did was get in a Voltic and like a coil and just jump and just drive out into the boonies. And I was amazed at how enormous that, like the Mount Chiliad and all the rest of it was. I was just staggered. So it wouldn't surprise me. Like, I remember when we were exploring in Red Dead Redemption, and it was literally the first day we got the game. We went to the north of the map, and it was back when there were rumors of DLC, but it was again this whole like map DLC, right? You're gonna get a new map, and the rumor was that it would be past the mountains at the top of like the snowy part, because you could see mountains back there. Like if you go up to the top of the Red Dead Redemption map, there's a good part where like there's an invisible wall, and beyond it is like more map, but it isn't more map. It's just made to look like there is, but it was mountainous.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things in Red Dead 2 clearly is the mountain ranges. So I feel like it's possible that they could just extend the Red Dead Redemption map upwards by like a huge amount, like double it. Like if you flip the Red Dead Redemption map on its head and like copy paste it, then you could very easily have something that big.
Yeah, I'd love for the whole map to come back.
It'd be
It makes
amazing.
sense. It would
Because
make sense.
And when they say about Mexico, why the hell would you only have a small portion of the Mexican map in there?
Or just
That
those
doesn't make
Mexico
sense
features
either.
in general. Like it's understandable that people do that. Like Call of Duty will bring back a gun from one of their previous games. It doesn't mean all of them are making a return, but with the same token, it's like you have a gang hideout that's Mexico themed with a Mexican gang, and then you also have a Mexican outfit. And so the Mexican outfit could be like a one-off thing, but the Mexican gang, it wouldn't make sense if you had the Mexican gang up in the mountains or anything
no
like that.
Mexico.
Yeah, and no Mexico. So there's got to be, it's just like these little things that don't add up if you were to say outright that the Red Dead Redemption 1 map won't be in the game, whereas at the same time, if you say it's like 100% going to be in the game, it also doesn't add up. I don't know, like, because I also got a YouTube comment as well of someone mentioning Thieves Landing and how they're going to deal with that. Because I always thought, when I answered it in the Q&A, I was saying like, oh, since West Elizabeth is returning, based off of that leaked map we saw, which was also leaked to be confirmed. I know that it sounds weird, but without getting sidetracked, I said, oh, how can Rockstar prevent us from accessing the rest of the map? And West Elizabeth is divided by a river in between Henniganstead, where the McFarlane Ranch is, and West Elizabeth. And so there's that big river with the waterfall that divides it. And I was like, oh, they could put a mountain there. It could just be a larger river. There could be no train track bridge that bridges the gap between them. They could do a whole bunch of like cheesy things. But if you travel east in West Elizabeth and also in Henniganstead, eventually you're going to hit the Thieves Landing area, which also joins Henniganstead and West Elizabeth together by Thieves Landing. Like that's like the linking town essentially. And so how would they prevent that? I mean, if they were to say Thieves Landing didn't exist, that was one of the older towns in the game, and just like little features like that. Like I don't know how they're gonna kind of prevent us from, without it looking stupid because of people who played Red Dead Redemption 1. So I feel like they just have to bring the old map back in some way. It has a place,
Totally.
I guarantee you, a big room of people had this discussion 7 or 8 years ago. Like, how are we going to do a map? What's the like? I don't even feel like it wouldn't be like them making GTA 6 and it just being Los Santos with like an extra bit above it. It's not the same because there'd be different characters, etc. It wouldn't make any sense there. But this is the same story, just 10 years before, in very much the same place. Because like, it isn't like, I think people forget just how different the world was over 100 years ago. You go back to 1899, there's pretty much no planes. Like it's just not a thing. Cars are very, very, they still called them quadrupeds. They're no good at all. Like the average person isn't going to have a car, and even the ones that did have them didn't work very well. There's still like the Native American situation going on where like that, it's just not a pretty place to be, and the Industrial Revolution isn't quite like going. It's like on its way. It's not quite finished. It's it's a different world. And in 10 years' time, I wouldn't be surprised if all the characters in Red Dead Redemption, like 2 and Red Dead Redemption, don't go more than 500 miles in any direction. Like, it's just too difficult to travel long distances easily.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would make sense if they were all fairly close knit, but not like you could probably be like 50 miles away, and that's a long way away. Like I don't.
Horseback as well.
That's it, and the horse
That's a day
can't
trip
just go
right there.
forever. Yeah, the horse can't go forever. Like I don't know how far it can go or what have you, but I imagine somewhere along the line, it's not just going to be like right, off we go, and then it's just like 12 hours of constant riding. Like I feel like you got to stop, you got to eat. The horse has to rest. It's. Maybe something happens if you're carrying wagons, maybe a spoke breaks, you've got to stop for a while. So, like, it's not to think that they'd all be sort of in the same place. It's after that long.
True.
End rant.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting to think about. I don't know, because like you said, I mean, horses usually do. It was between like 30 and 50 miles people do if they're like riding a horse all day, which is still a lot, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's a whole day trip right there. And Rockstar likes to mix all different parts of the US in their maps. So like, Los Santos and the rest of the map, it was all different features of California kind of combined into one map, but it was still supposed to symbolize and feel like, the entire state of California essentially, where you have like Lake Tahoe where Mount Chiliad is, and then you have the desert area, which is technically east of LA, but it's north of Los Santos in GTA 5 and things like that. And so that's kind of what they're doing with Red Dead, where, we're going to see elements of, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi area in the south. We're going to see New Orleans, at least that's what Saint Denis is supposed to be, which used to be called New Bordeaux. We're going to see North Dakota, like Deadwood area, which is also, we've seen parts of that like in the trailer and just all those things. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, with the whole Red Dead Redemption 1 map, we have to see, there's got to be something about it. I don't know. It's too big of a thing to ignore, to just be like, you are prevented from accessing this part of the map,
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, let's say you get to Thieves Landing and there's just an infinite river. You're going to be like, that's bullshit. There was definitely stuff here the last time I was here. Like,
exactly. And it wouldn't work if they did that. And Rockstar wouldn't take that route anyway. Maybe a different game would, but like Rockstar totally wouldn't. So
how bad would that be if the end of the map's Thieves Landing? You're like, wait, what? No, there's loads over there. Loads over there. I know there, and that's going to yank the immersion away from you. And if they're so focused on immersion and things feeling natural, then you can't have just this enormous river in the middle of the way of where there was definitely stuff. Like I'm fine with them having a reimagined place, like just because they're doing like some people say, oh, they're doing the same map, it will be boring. It's like, well, just because it's the same map doesn't mean to say it's going to look or feel the same. 10 years is a long time. And so as far as Rockstar are concerned, they could just make it look however they want to make it look.
Yeah, true.
And then you can blame any number of things on why it looks different 10 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean, because Armadillo technically, well, I don't know. I mean, if we're getting specific on times, Armadillo, when the train, it was mentioned when the train went through Armadillo, everyone went from Tumbleweed everyone went from Tumbleweed to Armadillo. Tumbleweed became abandoned. So that seems, this is all speculation and theory, but if we're able to play, then Tumbleweed's going to be like the new pop-in area of that part of the map. Rather than Armadillo. Armadillo may not even exist. So yeah, it's reimagined. It's 12 years earlier, so there's going to be different features that are now in the game that weren't before, and also features that aren't going to be in Red Dead 2 that were in Red Dead 1. So definitely going to be fun to see. I really hope we could play on the old map as well. I don't see any reason why people wouldn't want it. I think it only adds more to the game.
Yeah.
Even though
as long as the rest of the map is like a map. Like, if you add something, if you have the Los Santos map and then add 2 more Los Santos around the outside, I feel like that's enough.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. There's going to be plenty to explore anyways. Like, even if they do bring back the first map, which I'm sure they will, because from, like you said, with, it just won't make sense if, with the river and stuff, and then what's on the other side, all that. Like, from a continuity perspective as well, it just won't make sense if they don't.
It wouldn't make sense, yeah, exactly. And then the Mexico, items and just all these different things that give Rockstar more of a reason to actually include it in the second game, I think.
Good job it's not an Assassin's Creed game, otherwise you'd just be riding your horse through Thieves Landing and then it'd just be bang, invisible wall.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Well, hang on. It's like, no, this is the end of the map. No further.
This is the end.
Please exit the ride at the left-hand side of the train and mind your head on the way out.
Yeah, or a kill barrier, your screen turns gray or red and it's like countdown, back up or you die. Like, and that's something that Rockstar doesn't do because one, they're an actual game developer and they don't cut corners.
Angry would that make everybody, like, just seriously, like, if you're just riding through Thieves Landing innocently and it's like, go back to the play zone. This is not the mission area. Sorry, hang on, what?
Yeah, like, excuse me? Yeah, so I don't know. Or maybe kind of like North Yankton and GTA 5, Michael traveled there. You couldn't fly there technically. You were flying there in a mission and then you went, you had a loading screen and then you went to North Yankton in a cutscene and then you were able to play there for that mission. Maybe that's how we gain access to the Red Dead 1 map, but that still doesn't solve the problem of how they're going to deal with Thieves Landing and all that stuff if that's the edge of the leaked map right there. So I don't know. So many just things to worry about here. But yeah, I don't know how we got started on that topic, actually.
It doesn't matter
it just kind
anymore.
of dragged in.
That's good.
What about, now this is a bit interesting, it's sort of Red Dead related, sort of tangentially. What about the GTA news?
What do you mean?
It's slowed down.
Is it going to change? Is it going to change when we're going to see Red Dead stuff? Like, if they're just getting ready to release more DLC for GTA, like, does that mean we're not going to see any comment about Red Dead for a while?
Oh no, we will soon because they're separate. They're separate products.
Yeah.
I
feel like. Sorry, go on.
I think GTA announced the nightclub DLC. When you guys are watching this video, at least it was a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of days ago, almost a week ago, not a couple of weeks, and that's the studio obviously knew that, so it's all kind of in their plan. But I do think that now, because we didn't see anything in June, July has to be the date that there's a new announcement. I mean, I think that there's going to be one major announcement by Rockstar each month. So you have something being in July, August, and September. And that's kind of it. So 3 big releases, and that could be the Arthur Morgan trailer and then gameplay and then multiplayer trailer. And that would fill in those 3 slots. We'll have to see. But yeah, I don't think it truly messed with the marketing plan for Red Dead, though. No.
I feel like I can't remember the exact dating because I'm a moron. But if I remember correctly, there was literally like they announced the trailer a day after they put GTA news out. They put something out immediately after, like it was literally one day it was here's some GTA stuff, and then the next day it was like, oh yeah, by the way, trailer coming Wednesday.
Was it
Oh
just
no,
their normal Tuesday Newswire post, or was it like a big
yeah,
announcement?
it was a normal Tuesday Newswire thing, but it was kind of not. There was a few different things that were involved. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if like it doesn't really make too much difference.
Yeah. There's still a couple of days left in this month anyways. So hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Or early July-ish. More news.
Yay!
At last.
News at last. I can finally breathe again.
Hmm.
Alrighty, guys. So yeah, I think we covered a lot today. You know, between some online elements of Red Dead Redemption, some single player elements, you know, a lot of NPC and AI talk, which is good because that's extremely relevant in this game because of Rockstar. Just kind of announcing that AI would be a huge focus, or at least that's what's been leaked so far. Leaks are fun to talk about. That's what I love talking about on the channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like, and as well as if you guys are new to any of our channels, definitely feel free to subscribe. We are all linked in each other's descriptions, so you'll find our channel names down there. And bring your questions in the comments if you guys want us to feature anything or talk about something specific that's related to Red Dead Redemption 2 or anything else. Just let us know, and we'll try and accommodate you guys. But thank you for tuning in.
See you later, everybody.
See you later, everyone.